Welcome to the Astrology Weekly Podcast. Happy full moon in the sign of Aries. It's time to close out some unhealthy patterns and cycles in our lives. Today, we're diving into the world of astrology to explore the impact of the full moon in Aries on each zodiac sign. From fiery passion to emotional turmoil, this lunar event is bound to bring some dramatic changes to all of our lives. This video will give you a unique insight into this full moon portal and how you can utilize it to manifest your dream life. I release a podcast every 2 weeks on the lunar cycles to help you manifest the life of your dreams. This full supermoon, also known as a hunter's moon, in Aries is happening on October 17th at 7:26 a.m. Eastern Time. This full moon is happening at the Pisces degree, so it is calling us back to the center. Aries is the start of the zodiac wheel. Pisces is the end of the zodiac wheel. We're being asked to recalibrate what no longer aligns with us and what is going to help us survive the next 6 months. A hunter's moon is really a reference to hunting and being able to store up the goods that are needed for us to prosper during the cold winter months. So in a way, this full moon is inviting us to prioritize what is it that we no longer need, what is it that is weighing us down, and to identify that specific thing or things or people, places, and situations and release them. A full moon in astrology with regards to manifestation is a time to let go, to release, to make room, to clear the path, so that more blessings come into our lives. As you know, our God is the most generous of all the gods. So in honor of God's generosity, we lean in faith into this process of discarding what no longer aligns, because we know that even though it hurts to let people, places, and situations go, it is what's needed so something better can come in. Who is going to be the most impacted? It's going to be the fire placements. That's Aries, Leo, and Sagittarius. Tag on Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio as secondary. And lastly, I want to add that since Aries is a leader of the pack with this process of shedding old skin, the cardinal zodiac signs are also going to be the ones that are the most deeply impacted. So that will be Aries with her sister Libra, as well as Capricorn with her sister Cancer. How can the 12 zodiac signs make the most of this lunar transit? All of us are being asked to let go in specific areas. So if you're looking to manifest the life of your dreams, this is the important part. What section of my life do I need to be examining to see what no longer serves me there so I can let it go? For you, Aries, it's your ego. It's your identity. It's your personality. Reflect on the person that you are today, the man or woman that you are. Are you proud of this person? Do you like this person? If your 5-year-old self was to look at this person, would they be proud of this person? Would they like this person? If the answer is no, why is that? What is it about your ego or your personality that you think your 5-year-old self may not be the most proud of? Once you identify that, you've won. Because you are going to be doing the most shedding out of everybody. Naturally, that means Taurus. For you, it's going to be the 12th house, your relationship with your spirituality, with your childhood trauma, with your connection to divinity, with your connection to creativity and intuition. It's time for you to take a look at that. For you, Gemini, it's going to be your friend group. What kind of friends do you have in your social circle? Those friends that help you grow, that build you up. If not, it's time to give everybody a report card. Fire some people so you can make room to hire some new people. Moving on to Cancer. For you, this is going to fall in your 10th house. So it's your career, your public image, your public perception. What aspects of that do you want to get rid of? What aspects of your public image or your status no longer aligns with the legacy you want to leave on earth? It's time for you to reflect on that. What kind of person do you want to be remembered for? For you, Leo, it's going to be in the 9th house. This is a time for you to explore your spirituality, for you to learn new things about the world. It's time for you perhaps to travel. so you can clear your mind. It's nice for you to think about ways to expand your consciousness, your ability to connect with everyone in the world. The ninth house is ruled by Sagittarius. It's all about the pursuit of knowledge for a more enlightened world. So how can you expand your sense of exploration to become a better version of who you are? For you, Virgo, this falls in the eighth house. The eighth house is about death and rebirth. So you're going to be experiencing a lot of intense emotions around shame, guilt, and fear. And it's time for you to really examine them and interpret them and release them. That's the important thing. It's about rising from the mud, rising from the ashes, being willing to recognize this version of me is not conducive to the life that I want. I'm going to own this version of me. I'm going to apologize to myself for allowing this version to continue to exist. And then I'm going to eliminate that version so I can step into a new version of myself. Libra rising, for you, this is all about your marriage, your relationship, as well as your business partnership. Is it time to end certain contracts? This is a thing that I want you guys to understand about karma. Karma is the playhouse of Libra, okay? Libra runs the karma game like an art form, okay? Libra seems very cute and harmless, but Libra is literally the ambassador of justice in astrology. So where we meet our karma is when we're not able to keep that balance between loving ourselves and loving other people. Because remember, we all came from one God. We're all brothers and sisters. So the way that we treat each other reflects on how we feel about ourselves. So if I'm not feeling good about myself and I'm not being as good to, as an example, my wife, then, that's not a good thing. It doesn't matter that I am going through something. From her point of view, the only thing that matters is that I'm being horrible to her and she doesn't deserve it. So karma is me basically getting the consequences of my actions. That's what karma means. So Libra, partnership is where we meet our karma, because partnership is where we have to negotiate the love. How much of it am I keeping for myself? How much of it am I giving to others? How much of it am I allowing to receive? And that kind of flow of give and take, Manifestation is about energy flowing. It's not about energy being stuck. So if you're feeling stuck in your relationship, in your partnership, in your friendship, it is time to pack the bags. Moving on to Scorpio. Scorpio rising, it's time to take a look at your health, your work habits, your routine. Is there a way to fine-tune that process to make it more efficient? Is there a way for you to design a life that allows you to balance your physical needs against your spiritual and intellectual pursuits? Health is wealth. When we do not prioritize our health, in a way, we're telling ourselves that we don't matter and that our bodies don't matter, and whether we live or die, we don't care. And that's definitely not an energy that manifests anything good. The energy that manifests something good is an energy that wants to live. Having a solid root chakra is how we demonstrate that we want to live, that we're comfortable in our skin, we're comfortable in our body, and we do the things that we need to do for our body because we understand that in addition to being these big adults, we're also still little kids inside. And part of being a mature adult is to take care of the little child that still lives inside of us, that needs, doctor's appointments, that needs water, that needs food, that needs sleep. And all of that catches up with us when we do not prioritize our self-care. So you're being called to self-care, Scorpio rising. That's a part of your identity you need to examine. Sagittarius rising, it's time for you to have some fun. This is falling very beautifully for you in the fifth house. Sagittarius is highly compatible with Aries energy. So it's time for you to have more fun, to get into more creative projects, to go on more dates, to meet new people, to do random things, to just be willing to express yourself with confidence and to own your sexual desires and to feel good about your passion and to be aggressive about, pursuing opportunities over the next 6 months that really lend to you feeling joy. You're being called back to joy. So what you want to ask yourself, Sag rising, is what am I doing currently that is prohibiting me from awakening my inner child. How do I give my inner child a voice? How am I encouraging my inner child to be creative, to feel passionate, to enjoy life, and to feel good, and to really feel in control of their life because they have full self-expression? That is what you're being called to. If you're not feeling like you're there right now, that's what you're being called to examine. Capricorn rising, this falls in your 4th house, so it's the time for you to focus on your home life. If you have strained personal dynamics in some of your relationships, it may be time to recognize the limitations of those connections. With my background as a therapist, I've seen people very often try to project an ideal relationship onto others who may not necessarily have the skills to maintain said relationships. So Capricorn rising, it's time for you to be honest. This is what Aries is about. Aries is about being forthright. It's time for you to be honest about your limitations in terms of social skills, level of empathy, forgiveness, cooperation, communication, understanding, all of that, and other people's limitations. It's time for you to really tap into, your emotional safety. Who makes you feel safe emotionally? Who doesn't? The ones who don't, you need to have some boundaries in place to keep things safe. The 4th house is all about being in your mother's arm as an infant and feeling cuddled and feeling safe. This is Cancer energy at its best. When it comes to human relationships, you're not supposed to be in relationships with people who don't give you that energy, because that is the only point of relationship, is to share love. And when people are not able to share love with you, you need to recognize that and set some limits. Moving on to Aquarius rising. Aquarius, this falls for you in your 3rd house of communication. There are some things you haven't been saying. There are some things, some anger, some frustration that you've been swallowing. It's time for you to open up your throat chakra and really speak your mind, take up space, and to be more decisive and more forthright about your feelings. This full moon is illuminating for you the ways in which you have been making space for other people to speak their mind, and you've been honoring their divinity, but that energy hasn't been returned to you. When you are in the company of people who do not know how to share love, meaning they don't know how to communicate properly, even though you do, they don't know how to be non-judgmental, even though you are, then you have to face that head on, much like Saturn. I know Saturn likes to suffer, and Saturn likes to push through, and Saturn is used to everything coming with hardship. But I'm here to tell you that manifestation is not about suffering. Manifestation is not about forcing. It's about releasing. The best manifestors are the best people at releasing. They can clearly sense and feel in their body when an energy is not for them, and they shut it down so that they can create room for an energy that is agreeable. Those that are very good at manifestation are able to sense the energy in the room, decide what energy they want to engage in and what energy they do not want to engage in, because it's not conducive to the goals that they have for themselves. So Aquarius rising, you tend to be very, very generous energetically, and it's time for you to stick up for yourself. I know you like to fight for other people, but it's time for you to own your life story. What is it that you're here to do? How are you working on that? Moving on to Pisces rising. This full moon is illuminating ways for you to increase your personal assets and your financial security. It's time for you to set some intentions around how to make more money, how to become better at budgeting, how to become better at investments. You can always be working on upgrading your life while you're working on your goals. It's not about immediate gratification, but rather a long-term financial goal that you can meet. It's important for you to prioritize long-term planning and long-term financial success over temporary joys. This full moon is going to illustrate for you the ways in which you've been handling your resources, your gifts, your skills. How are you using all the resources that you have to make money? How have you been neglecting this process of accumulating wealth, for the cold months that are ahead? This is really what it's about. We're all being called to examine how we are preparing for the future. The Sun is in Libra, our Mercury is in Scorpio, our Venus is in Scorpio, our Mars is in Cancer, our Jupiter is in Gemini, retrograde, Saturn is in Pisces, retrograde, Uranus is in Taurus, retrograde, Neptune is in Pisces, retrograde. Our North Node is still in Aries, our Lilith is in Libra, and our Chiron is in Aries, retrograde. The universe is still inviting us into this dance of balancing out the feminine with the masculine energy. The feminine receives, the feminine is passive, and the masculine gives. The masculine is action-oriented. The feminine is Pisces, the most feminine zodiac sign. The masculine is Aries, the most masculine zodiac sign. Lilith in astrology is how we embody our spiritual goddess energy. With Lilith currently being in Libra, with the sun in Libra, we're really being called to examine how are we being fair to ourselves and others. Chiron in Aries is bringing healing to aspects of our personality that are too drunk on ego and not at all concerned about the well-being of others. So those that have made their mark in the world as being those that love abusing others, those that enjoy destroying earth and destroying, relationships and creating havoc and chaos and war, are going to be rewarded with karma during this time. Because Jupiter is retrograde, Saturn is retrograde, free will does not mean that we are also free from the consequences of our action. Free will simply means that we have the right to choose. And with every choice comes a consequence. This is what Libra is very aware of, which is why Libra seldom is quick to take a side, because Libra knows you have to deeply examine something to make the right decision. I hope this full moon invites you in to re-examine how you've been loving on yourself or not, and how you've been loving on others or not. Even though this full moon is in Aries, it's really an invitation to let go, to destroy parts of ourselves and others that no longer align with who we are. It's about being willing to fight for the love that we have for ourselves, because we know we are part of God, and that God who made us deserves the honor of having made us, because we are that exceptional. We are that worthy. We are that important, that this God made a planet that is floating in the middle of space and decided that we needed to be on that planet. We want to give this God respect and honor. And we do that by sacrificing our lives in the mission of making Earth a better place. And that is exactly what God intended when we were created, so that we may be among those that bring balance, beauty, fairness, justice, faith, truth, and love back on Earth. Thank you for listening to the Astrology Weekly podcast. Head over to our YouTube channel at Astrology Weekly and subscribe. Join our private manifestation group on Patreon at Intuitive Healing with an N. You can purchase a confidential astrology reading from Patreon or become a subscriber. I'll catch up with you in 2 weeks for another podcast. Wishing you a happy full moon in Aries.